Welcome to today's rental licensing webinar Lunch and Learn series. Today we're going to be presenting from the Planning and Code Administration Department for the Neighborhood Services Inspectors. What we're going to do is we're going to walk you through a rental inspection where we're just going to kind of let you know what the inspector's thoughts are while we're conducting that inspection. We want you to know that this is not a full comprehensive review of an inspection. We're just kind of covering the most common items that we typically come across during one of our inspections. We want you to not use this as a checklist. This is just an advisory for you to better understand the thoughts of an inspector as they go through a property. The owner is always responsible for making sure that you're compliant with the applicable codes. So, you know, if you after we're done, we're going to open this up to any questions and any questions people may have and try to answer them. We'll answer as many as time allows. For those, you can just click on the Q&A button, whether or not it's at the top or the bottom of your screen, just depends on how you joined us, that you'll be able to submit your questions in that way. And today we're going to have Jason that's going to walk you through an inspection. Jason's going to be covering the mechanical, plumbing, some electrical stuff, and also the laundry area for you to have an understanding of what we're looking for during those. Jason is certified as a property maintenance inspector through the International Code Council. So I'm going to turn it over to Jason.
Thank you, Paul. Again, my name is Jason. Like I said, we're going to touch with the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing items. Start off with is your hot water tank. Usually all our inspections are a visual inspection. We're going to take a look at the hot water tank. We're going to look for any leaks, any rusting, any major damage that could malfunction the system. Also, as you can see, we're going to check the manufacturer covers. These covers are to be in place and secure at all times. We're going to be checking that they are. As far as if you have an electrical tank, you'll have your main wire coming in. We are going to check that it is properly clamped, that is not pulled out, and the clamp is not actually connecting the conductors themselves, which could cause a future hazard. Also, with this, you have your temperature pressure release valve. It is a safety valve to protect you in case this was to become overpressurized with heat or so. This release valve, we make sure it is in place. It is piped out and down to the floor. This pipe is to be of a non-corrosive material, copper CPVC. It is to pipe down to the floor within 6 inches of the floor for safety. This is to terminate within the same room. It cannot go through the floor or into another room to terminate. We will check the pipe for any, again, visual inspection for cracks, crushed, leakage, and most importantly, we do not want this capped for safety reasons. It is not to have any T-fittings on it, or the end of the pipe is not to be threaded, because that can have a tendency to kind of cap it if they do see a leak, and that can cause a very serious issue. So please, no capping of that. Excuse me. From the water heater, we go from the water lines. Now, the water service lines is a visual inspection. We're going to make sure that they are installed correctly. Again, we have no leaks. Any valves are functional, that there are no leaks or corrosion, which could cause any functioning problems. Along the lines, we have the sewer lines. The sewer lines we are going to check. Of course, we want to make sure they are connected to the city's sewer lines. Again, they are sloped properly, and they have no open cleanouts. If there are cleanouts, they are to be capped. Also, while our inspection, we'll get to the laundry room, but if you have any laundry tub, any kind of drainage that is no longer used, we ask that they be capped for anything. If they were to dry out, they can cause any sewer gases to back up into the home. Moving on to the furnace, we have the mechanical furnace. Basically, you can have an electrical furnace, like also for like baseboard heating, but we're going to focus on the fuel burning, whether it be gas or oil. With the system, again, it is a visual inspection. We're going to make sure that the cabinet itself is in good shape, no major corrosion, no defects. Again, we have the service panels. We're going to make sure they are in place and they are secure. With the unit, we also going to check that Manufacturers suggest the yearly service to the system. We are going to check whether you can provide an invoice or usually just a contractor's service tag showing that the system has been serviced within that past year. We are requiring that. All licensed contractors and manufacturers do suggest that a yearly service is done, and we are following along with that. Also with the unit, we are going to have the condensation drain. Again, it's another drainage. We're going to look for any cracks, possible leakage, and make sure that it is draining to a correct location, not just draining onto the floor, whether a dedicated line or what have you. You may have a condensation pump. Again, that pump would have to then drain into a laundry sink or a dedicated drain line. Back the hot water tank, also I want to also mention with your temperature, it is required to stay between minimum of 110 Fahrenheit and maximum of 140 Fahrenheit. I just wanted to bring that to your attention. As far as the furnace, again, we are also looking at combustion air. Usually your furnaces are in your basement. A basement will provide enough combustion air for the unit. If you are to finish your basement, sometimes you will create like a furnace room. A lot of times those rooms can get small and not provide enough combustion air. Then you'll want to place a door with louvers on to provide the additional combustion air for the unit. One thing to keep in mind though, combustion air for a unit cannot be drawn from a bedroom area. It has to be drawn from another section of the home or provided another form of combustion air, not from a bedroom. Now, as far as the exhaust flue for the unit, we mentioned also the hot water tank. This is electric, but it goes for both the hot water tank as well as the furnace. This furnace here is a higher efficiency. The flue is of PVC material, but that goes as well as a lower efficiency. You will have it as the metal type piping. We're checking for holes. Some of your flues will have a dampener on them. We're checking for function, that they are free and there's no malfunction to them. Checking for the holes, that is properly sloped so we do not create a possible backdraft to cause a carbon monoxide issue backing up into the house, causing a safety issue for the residents. Again, it is to exhaust to the outside, whether it is the PVC high efficiency or the low efficiency metal piping. This flue is not to share any other exhaust system. As far as your bathroom exhaust, they cannot use the same flue. They have to be independent. Okay. Also with this unit, within the area, usually you may see a switch. That switch is a service switch. It is for service to the unit. You use that switch to be able to service the unit. We require an emergency cutoff switch. That emergency cutoff switch is not that switch. Emergency cutoff switch is going to be remote as far as possible from the unit, usually at the entrance to the room, and usually that is at the top of the stairs of the basement. This switch is going to has to have a red cover. It will be labeled gas or oil, identifying the unit. Again, it is red, and that is your emergency cutoff switch for the unit to be used for an emergency. Again, it's two separate switches. The one down next to the unit is not considered your emergency switch. You will be required for the emergency shutoff switch. When inspecting, we do have to have it has to be a clear area for inspection. We require all rubble, debris, trash, and all. Have to have full access to whatever the unit is, the hot water tank, furnace, or any device does have to have a clear path for inspection. Also in that furnace room, there is to be an artificial light. Basically, a light that is near the unit for a service tech or someone to be able to turn on to be able to inspect and see the unit itself. That is required. Now, as far as laundry areas, you're going to have a clothes dryer. Clothes dryer, you can have the exhaust, the hard line, or flex. The stipulation is it has to be 25 feet or less. With the transition from your dryer to the hard line, you can have 8 feet of the flex material. Now this has to be UL listed. It cannot be the vinyl type. The vinyl type is just used for your bathroom exhaust systems, not for your dryers. This does have to exhaust to the outside. And when the pieces are put together, you cannot use screws to penetrate the piping. This will cause a condition where lint over time can collect on the points of the screws to then cause a fire hazard. Now, also in your laundry area, you'll have your washer hookups. Your washer hookups have to be secured to the wall or in a type of laundry box. They will need to work, function, hot, cold water, as well as just provide what's needed to the washer and dryer. Now, also a laundry sink. If you do provide a laundry sink in the laundry area, again, hot water, cold water, same as goes for the hot water tank. They have to work and function. We will inspect it for any corrosions, proper drainage, and it has to provide the true temperature. Now, if that laundry tub is within the 6-foot area of the plug for the appliance, that plug needs to be a GFCI protected. Other than that, if you have the appliance down there without the tub, it is required the appliance at least be grounded. So the appliance does have to be plugged into a grounded plug, but in addition, if it is next to your laundry tub, it will need to be GFCI protected. Like I said, with whether or not you have the clothes dryer, washer, hookup, and all laundry, the venting outside, the proper material for the exhaust and all. Along with all these units, you're going to have the electrical, whether it be the furnace, hot water tank, your laundry area, all junction boxes for electrical. There are to be no open splices whatsoever hanging from the ceiling or the wall, whether or not they're in the junction box or not. If they are in the junction box, they are to be with the approved cover and secured. Just as a recap, again, we covered here with the water heater, the pressure release valve on the water heater, the mechanical equipment for the furnace. Again, we touch bases more on the fossil fuel, the emergency cutoff switch for the furnace, about how it has to be remote, the electrical systems to the units about being covered in junction boxes, not opening splices. Of course, the lighting for the furnace room needs to be an artificial lighting to be able to, for this servicing. The dryer exhaust, again, exiting to the outside, a 25-foot limit. With the transition, flex can be used, but not of the vinyl type. And laundry connections themselves, if you're providing the laundry. One little point to touch on, if you do not provide the laundry area and it does have the hookups, we ask that it be capped, because after a while, a trap can dry out and cause a condition of back sewer gases. So please, if we can have those capped. And of course, the laundry sink, if provided, making sure that it works just like any other sink in the house, the hot and cold water. But as of right now, I thank you. Hope to see you out in the field, but I will pass it back to Paul.
All right, so thank you, Jason, for taking us through all those things. Jason covered a lot of stuff for the mechanical, plumbing, electrical, and laundry areas. That's a lot of information that he covered. And what I always want to make sure of is, that we didn't cover everything. Jason did not cover every aspect of what we're looking for during an inspection, but we covered some of the main points and more of the common items that we come across. Hagerstown is very unique, like I've said, and it makes us so unique and different, and that makes it great, but it can present challenges for always covering every aspect of an inspection. Our goal is just to give you a general overview of what we look for during one of our rental interiors. Now, if you have any specific questions you may want to ask us about your particular property, please just always email us at codecompliance@hagerstownmd.org, where we can answer those questions. Now we'll kind of open things up to some general questions. I have a couple here for Jason to see if he can answer for us as these questions come in. So, Jason, you mentioned about a switch that was like on the furnace or in this area. Is that the emergency cutoff switch?
No, again, anything within what we call within reach of the unit, that is called, we consider that a service switch. That is for servicing of the unit only. It's not to be considered an emergency cutoff. That emergency cutoff, like I said, has to be remote from the unit, and usually at the entrance to the room, the farthest point, usually at the top of the stairs in the basement at the entry. Again, that switch is going to be identified by a red cover, and it's going to be labeled oil, gas, pertaining to which unit it's in. That is your emergency cutoff. Sometimes you may not even find the switch down here for the service switch, but the emergency cutoff has to be the remote switch, not in the same vicinity of the furnace.
All right, thank you. And let's say that I do have a washer dryer hookup and I am right beside of a laundry sink there, and I need to plug my washer into that outlet. What are the requirements for that again? I can't remember if you covered that.
Yes, again, with the plug, we do require it to be grounded. It's a metal appliance. It does have to be a grounded plug. Now, with the laundry sink, in effect, in that neighborhood of it, we do then require it to be GFCI. Now, if the plug is there and you are replacing the plug with the GFCI to meet the code, you do not need a permit just for replacing the plug. But if you were to have to run a new line, move a line, or what have you, that will require a permit to be pulled to have the work completed and inspected.
And you mentioned about that if they had a washer dryer hookup, wanted to remove it, that we want the lines to be capped. Does a landlord have to provide a washer dryer hookup in a residence?
No, they do not, and that's why I suggested that, if they know they're not going to provide it, and they know there is an existing trap or so for the washer and dryer, please cap it, because that tap will eventually dry out and cause a back of sewer gases to enter into the home.
Okay.
It should be capped.
And then we mentioned about the supplies coming into a furnace here, like our gas line. If our gas line's coming in, what type of material can I use for this?
As far as the gas line coming to the system, a lot of people will see the flexible, it's a yellow pipe, it's a flexible gas line that is totally code. You can use that throughout the whole system. But termination to the unit, you have to transition to the hard, like black piping to go through the cabinet. That flex pipe cannot penetrate the cabinet. It has to be terminated on the outside and continue into the hookup with black piping. But the flex can be used, just not to have the termination in through the cabinet.
Okay. Thanks, Jason, for taking us through those. We had a lot of questions that I hope we answered. And one question that came in that was more or less asking a question about do we have these checklists available? They are available on our website that you can go to if you go to hagerstowncode.org. And you can go to rental licensing, and then inspections, and then you'll see rental interior detail checklist, and everything will be all listed there. It's the same image that goes out on those invites that you can certainly click on then, and it'll give a detailed checklist of everything that we have. So again, I thank everyone for being part of this webinar series. Please make sure to follow us on social media. We have Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. You can follow us on any of those accounts. Just search for PCAD Hagerstown. That's PCAD Hagerstown. And you can find us on any of those platforms. I thank you all for being part of this. Please sign up for the next webinar that will be occurring on Friday next week, where we'll be covering stairs and hallways to give you more information about those. Thank you very much.